Freedom on the Combahee, Harriet Tubman's boldest mission. On a dark summer night in June 1863, 3 Union gunboats moved quietly up the Combahee River in South Carolina. The water was dangerous. Confederate forces had planted torpedoes, primitive underwater mines, along the river to destroy enemy ships. If the boats struck one, the mission would end in disaster. But the ships had an extraordinary guide. Standing among the Union soldiers was Harriet Tubman, a woman who had once been enslaved in Maryland. She knew the waterways, the hidden channels, and the dangers along the river. More importantly, she had already spread word among enslaved people on nearby plantations that freedom might be coming. Within hours, hundreds of men, women, and children would run toward the riverbanks in one of the most dramatic escapes in American history. The mission would become known as the Combahee River Raid, and it would cement Harriet Tubman's place not only as a rescuer of enslaved people, but also as a brilliant military leader. From enslaved child to freedom seeker. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery around 1822 in Dorchester County, Maryland. Her birth name was Araminta Ross, though she later took the name Harriet. From childhood, she endured the harsh realities of slavery, long hours of labor, physical punishment, and the constant fear of being separated from family. Reflecting on those early years, Harriet Tubman later said, "I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it." When she was a teenager, Tubman suffered a severe head injury that would affect her for the rest of her life. An overseer threw a 2-pound metal weight at another enslaved man who was trying to escape work. The weight missed its target and struck Tubman instead, fracturing her skull. The injury left her with lifelong headaches, sudden sleep spells, and vivid visions that she believed were messages from God. These experiences strengthened her deep faith and her belief that she was meant to help others find freedom. In 1849, when she learned she might be sold and separated from her family, Tubman escaped slavery. Traveling by night and hiding during the day, she followed secret routes north until she reached Pennsylvania. Crossing into free territory, she later remembered feeling as if she had stepped into heaven. But Tubman refused to leave others behind. The Underground Railroad. Soon after gaining her freedom, Tubman began returning to the South to guide others out of slavery. She became one of the most famous conductors on the Underground Railroad, a secret network of safe houses and escape routes that led enslaved people to free states and Canada. The system used railroad language as code. Safe houses were called stations, guides were conductors, and escaping slaves were known as passengers. The journeys were dangerous. People traveled at night through forests and swamps, while slave catchers searched for them. Between about 1851 and 1862, Tubman made roughly 13 rescue missions, guiding around 70 enslaved people, including family members, to freedom. Her courage and determination earned her the nickname Moses, after the biblical leader who led his people out of bondage. Yet Tubman's most dramatic mission was still ahead. War changes the fight for freedom. When the American Civil War began in 1861, Tubman saw a new opportunity to strike at slavery. She traveled to Union-controlled areas in South Carolina, where thousands of enslaved people had been freed after plantation owners fled the advancing Union Army. At first, Tubman worked as a nurse, cook, and teacher for the newly freed communities. But Union officers soon realized that she possessed something even more valuable: intelligence. Tubman knew how enslaved communities communicated secretly. She also knew how to travel unnoticed through dangerous territory. To gather information, she sometimes disguised herself as a poor, elderly woman. Confederate soldiers often ignored her, assuming she was harmless. In reality, she was listening, observing, and collecting valuable information about enemy positions and supply routes. Before long, she was working as a Union scout and spy. Her intelligence would help plan one of the boldest missions of the war, planning the Combahee River Raid. In 1863, Union leaders wanted to weaken Confederate forces along the South Carolina coast. Plantations along the Combahee River produced large quantities of rice and other supplies that supported the Confederate Army. Union Colonel James Montgomery organized a raid to destroy these plantations and recruit newly freed men into the Union Army. Harriet Tubman played a crucial role in planning the mission. She gathered intelligence from enslaved people along the river and mapped out the safest path for Union ships. She also identified the locations of Confederate torpedoes hidden in the water. Quietly, she spread word among enslaved communities that when Union ships appeared on the river, they should be ready to escape. The geography of the Combahee River made the mission especially dangerous. The river wound through marshlands and narrow channels, where Confederate torpedoes had been hidden beneath the water. Navigating these twisting waterways at night required precise knowledge of the terrain, knowledge Tubman had gathered through careful scouting and intelligence from enslaved people in the region. The night of the raid. On the evening of June 1, 1863, 3 Union ships, the Sentinel, the Harriet A. Weed, and the John Adams, left Beaufort, South Carolina, carrying about 300 soldiers, many of them African-American members of the 2nd South Carolina Infantry. Not long after departure, the Sentinel ran aground, leaving only 2 ships to continue the dangerous mission. Guided by Tubman's intelligence, the remaining vessels carefully moved up the river, avoiding the Confederate torpedoes hidden beneath the water. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, Union troops began landing along the riverbanks. They drove away Confederate guards and set fire to plantations, warehouses, and supplies that supported the Confederate war effort. Soon the sound of gunfire and steam whistles echoed through the rice fields. Enslaved people heard the commotion and rushed toward the river. Families ran through the darkness, carrying whatever they could: children, blankets, baskets of food. Some waded into the water while others crowded onto small docks. The scene was chaotic but hopeful. According to later accounts, some people clung to the sides of the gunboats with their pigs and chickens and children. Union soldiers pulled them aboard as quickly as possible. By the time the ships turned back downriver, more than 750 enslaved people had escaped to freedom in a single night. Many of the freed men soon joined the Union Army, strengthening the fight against the Confederacy. A historic military first? The Combahee River Raid was remarkable not only for the number of people freed, but also for Harriet Tubman's leadership. Historians widely credit her as the first woman in United States history to lead an armed military expedition. Union General Rufus Saxton, reporting the mission to Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, emphasized Tubman's central role in the operation. He wrote, "This is the only military expedition in which a woman took the lead and under whose direction everything was managed." The report offered rare official recognition of Tubman's leadership during the raid. Her achievements become even more striking when viewed side by side. Tubman's 2 paths to freedom. Underground Railroad. Duration, more than 10 years. People freed, about 70. Role, civilian guide, conductor. Combahee River Raid. Duration, 1 night. People freed, more than 750. Role, military scout and leader. The raid showed how intelligence, planning, and courage could transform the struggle against slavery. After the war. After the Civil War ended, Tubman settled in Auburn, New York. She continued to help others, caring for elderly African Americans and speaking out for women's voting rights. Though she had played a crucial role in the war, Tubman struggled for years to receive proper payment or recognition from the government. For decades, she petitioned for compensation for her service as a scout and spy. Only more than 30 years after the Civil War, and after significant lobbying by supporters and friends, did she finally receive a government pension, granted not for her espionage work, but for her service as the widow of a Union soldier. This long struggle reflected a familiar pattern in Tubman's life: extraordinary courage, followed by years of quiet perseverance. The legacy of the Combahee. The Combahee River Raid became a powerful symbol of liberation. It showed that enslaved people were ready to seize their freedom, and that Black soldiers and leaders played a crucial role in ending slavery. More than a century later, a Black feminist organization called the Combahee River Collective chose its name to honor this historic moment. The group believed that the raid represented a powerful example of collective liberation, led by Black women. Today, Harriet Tubman remains one of the most admired figures in American history. She escaped slavery, guided dozens to freedom, served as a Union spy and scout, and led a daring military raid that freed hundreds more. Her life proves that courage, intelligence, and determination can change the course of history.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Overseer, meaning a person who supervises or controls workers, especially on plantations during slavery. Example, the overseer ordered the workers to return to the fields immediately. 2. Weight, meaning a heavy object or mass used to apply force or pressure. Example, the metal weight struck Tubman and caused a serious injury. 3. Marshland, meaning wet, soft land where water covers the ground and grasses grow. Example, the soldiers carefully moved through the marshland near the river. 4. Terrain, meaning the physical features of an area of land, such as hills, rivers, or forests. Example, Tubman knew the difficult terrain better than the Union soldiers. 5. Run aground, meaning when a boat or ship becomes stuck on the bottom of shallow water. Example, one of the ships ran aground before reaching the river. 6. War effort, meaning all the activities and resources used by a country to support a war. Example, destroying the plantations weakened the Confederate war effort. 7. Commotion, meaning a sudden noisy disturbance or confusion. Example, the sound of gunfire created a commotion across the plantations. 8. Waded into, meaning to walk through water that is not very deep. Example, many families waded into the river to reach the Union boats. 9. Expedition, meaning a journey or mission organized for a specific purpose, often military or exploratory. Example, the Combahee River expedition freed hundreds of enslaved people. 10. Espionage, meaning the act of secretly gathering information about an enemy or opponent. Example, Tubman's espionage work helped the Union Army plan their attack. 11. Perseverance, meaning continuing to work toward a goal despite difficulties or delays. Example, Tubman's perseverance helped her guide many people to freedom. 12. Daring, meaning showing courage and willingness to take risks. Example, the daring raid along the river surprised Confederate forces.
Comprehension questions. 1. Where and when was Harriet Tubman born? Answer. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery around 1822 in Dorchester County, Maryland. 2. What was Harriet Tubman's birth name? Answer. Her birth name was Araminta Ross. 3. What serious injury did Tubman suffer as a teenager? Answer. An overseer threw a 2-pound metal weight at another enslaved man, but it struck Tubman instead, fracturing her skull. 4. How did Tubman's head injury affect her later in life? Answer. It caused severe headaches, sudden sleep spells, and vivid visions that she believed were messages from God. 5. When did Harriet Tubman escape from slavery? Answer. She escaped in 1849. 6. How did Tubman travel during her escape to freedom? Answer. She traveled mostly at night and hid during the day while following secret routes north. 7. What was the Underground Railroad? Answer. The Underground Railroad was a secret network of safe houses and routes that helped enslaved people escape to free states in Canada. 8. Why was Harriet Tubman called Moses? Answer. She was called Moses because she guided enslaved people to freedom, similar to the biblical leader who led his people out of slavery. 9. What roles did Tubman serve in during the Civil War before the raid? Answer. She worked as a nurse, cook, teacher, scout, and spy for the Union Army. 10. Why was Harriet Tubman valuable to the Union Army as a scout? Answer. She knew how enslaved communities communicated understood the local terrain, and could secretly gather information about Confederate forces. 11. What was the goal of the Combahee River Raid? Answer. The goal was to destroy Confederate plantations and supplies, and free enslaved people along the river. 12. When did the Combahee River Raid take place? Answer. The raid took place on the night of June 1 to 2, 1863. 13. Approximately how many enslaved people were freed during the raid? Answer. More than 750 enslaved people were freed. 14. Why is the Combahee River Raid historically important? Answer. It was one of the largest slave liberations of the Civil War. And Harriet Tubman became the first woman known to lead a U.S. military expedition. 15. What did Harriet Tubman do after the Civil War? Answer. She settled in Auburn, New York, helped care for elderly African Americans, and supported the women's suffrage movement.